And sometimes that payout could also be the same size or could even be bigger than the first payout. Anyway, it's a great time for you to sell your physical therapy practice when... Hey, welcome back to the show. Today, we're going to answer the question, when is the right time to sell my physical therapy practice? When is the right time to sell your physical therapy practice or to partner with a strategic or corporate out there, bring on a partner, another physical therapist, another group, whoever it might be. Let's get into it. So there's a great time, there's a bad time, and then there's a good time. It also depends on several factors, including your team, your staff. We're going to get into all of that, as well as like your age and where you kind of are in terms of like your energy, your motivation, all of that. So right off the bat, a great time to sell. And again, selling could be you sell 100% of your practice, or it could be a majority. You sell a majority, meaning 60%, 70, 80% of your practice, the equity of your practice. And then maybe you retain 20 or 30 or 40% of your practice, and you are in talks with the buyer where they will buy out the second part, the second tranche, the second amount of equity in 3, 5, 7 something years down the road. And sometimes that payout could also be the same size or could even be bigger than the first payout. Anyway, it's a great time for you to sell your physical therapy practice when you have a practice that operates without you. You have an experienced staff in place. Ideally, you also have managers, directors, you have some form of leadership in place. We've done this, we've talked about this a little bit in other episodes, but if you're an absentee owner, it's always a great time for you to sell your practice. If you're already absentee, you have a lot of these systems and processes in place. It's a great time for you to sell your practice when you don't need to sell your practice. We'll get into more of that in a second. It's a great time to sell your practice when your revenue and profit is strong or increasing. Strong meaning it's steady, it's stable, and or it's increasing over the last 3 to 5 years as a trend line. Also, great time to sell when you have no pressure to sell. When you have no pressure at all to sell, it's a great time to sell your physical therapy practice. Think about the supply and demand, right? So it's a great time to sell when you have options. And when you have limited options, it's not a great time to sell, and you will probably get hammered on price. But when you have other options, you have more leverage, and you can bring that to the negotiating table. You can bring that negotiating leverage and power to those buyer conversations. Also a great time to sell when you have several buyers at one time inquiring or even bidding on your practice, whether you have a broker or advisor or not, whatever it might be. But if you have several practices, several buyers, several corporates, whatever it might be, if they are contacting you, if they are inquiring to speak with you, to have, to sign a non-disclosure agreement, all that type of stuff, it may be a great time for you to sell your practice. Now, when is a bad time to sell your practice? A bad time to sell your practice is when revenue or profit has been trending downward. So a negative trend line over the last 2, 3, 5, whatever years. Obviously, COVID, we're coming out of it and it's a whole new world. But even in the last 12 to 24 months, 12 to 18 months, there should be a positive trend line. Obviously, there's factors that depend on if you're hiring new therapists, and the therapists have to get ramped up and busy. But overall, there should be a positive trend line. If it's a negative trend line, buyers are going to get a little nervous. They're going to get a little fearful, and then they will price that into their offer. They will put that into their offer, and the offer will possibly sometimes be lower than what you're looking for or what you're expecting. It will be a bad time for you to sell your practice if your entire practice revolves around you. It's a bad time to sell your practice if you have health issues, medical issues. If that's the case where you are needing to sell and exit and take money off the table because there's unfortunately, like a bad diagnosis, a medical situation where you can no longer treat, or you can no longer manage or lead or go into the office or whatever it might be, that's a bad time to sell. So those are the types of things you want to kind of think about ahead of time. It's a bad time to sell if you don't have systems in place, if you have not implemented systems and processes in your practice. Many that watch this channel have SOPs, standard operating procedures, and playbooks and things like that in place. But if you don't, it's definitely a bad time to sell because you're not ready to sell. It's not sellable yet. It's also not a great time for you to sell your practice if you can't take vacations, when there's no one to manage or lead your practice when you are away. And if you are on the younger side, let's say you're in your 30s, 40s, or 50s, it could be a good time for you to partner if you're not ready to fully retire, like you're not 60, 70, 80 years old, but it could be a good time to partner for several reasons. If you want to take some money off the table, you still want to stay in the physical therapy world, you love treating, or you love the physical therapy profession, you love the value proposition that your practice provides for your community, the impact that you and your therapist have. it could be a good time or a great time for you to partner with a buyer out there if you can find a practice or a buyer that partners with you, that brings in resources that covers your area of weaknesses, or the areas that you hate. We had some practice owners that we've spoken with, and things like billing, coding, insurance, human resources, hiring, onboarding, training, performance reviews, firing or changing staff, offloading or exiting some staff members if they're not the right fit. That whole thing, that billing, coding, insurance, all the HR, all the admin, there's a lot of owners that don't like that, or the wind has been taken out of their sail because of that, or the wind has been taken out of their sail because of COVID, or whatever it might be. But if you're 30, 40, 50, and you're not ready to fully sell, and you believe that there is ability to grow your practice, open up new locations, grow more in your community, whatever it might be, and maybe it makes sense for you to partner with a buyer or a strategic partner out there. Maybe that's us, maybe it's Fieldmaker Group, or maybe it's some other buyer out there. It depends on, again, your level of risk, your level of motivation, your energy. There's a whole host of factors. It also, in general, it depends on how many buyers are out there on the market. If it's going to be a good time, a great time, or a bad time for you to sell your practice. In physical therapy, there's always buyers out there for the most part. Even during COVID, even the early, in 2020, there was obviously less deals, but then in 2021, there were more physical therapy transactions and deals in 2021 compared to 2020. And then in 2022, more deals in 22 than in 21. And last year, 23, more deals than 2022, and so on and so forth. So this year, there's probably going to be more transactions, more sales, more exits, more partnerships compared to last year. So that's it for right now. Quick one right there. If you hate some of those things and you want to offload some of those things, or you want to bring in partners like us or other partners that can help with the marketing, with the sales process, with the patient engagement, the patient experience, whatever it might be, check us out at fieldmakergroup.com for more. That's it for now on the Dave Kittle Show. Subscribe if you find this valuable. We'll catch you next time here on the show. Also, you can check out the pod on iTunes, Spotify, or watch along on YouTube. Catch you next time. Bye. Hey, it's Dave Kittle. Are you a healthcare business owner or physical therapy practice owner who is looking to figure out your succession plan or exit strategy? We might be able to help. And in fact, we may be interested in acquiring your practice. If you're interested, you can reach out to me. Shoot me an email at dave@conciergepainrelief.com. That's DAVE@CONCIERGE painrelief.com. Or you can call me at any time, 646-781-8884.